Hello and welcome back to Kim Reads as we continue with A Little Princess. The French lesson. When Sara entered the classroom the next morning, all eyes were on her. By the time everyone, from Lavina Herbert, who was the eldest, to Lottie Lee, the littlest one, heard a great deal about her, they knew that she was Miss Minchin's prized pupil. Lavina had even caught a glimpse of her French maid, Mariette, who arrived the evening before. Lavina had sneaked past and seen Mariette opening a box that arrived late from a shop. It was full of petticoats with lace frills on them, she whispered to her friend Jessie. As she went over her geography book. She isn't pretty the way other girls are pretty, said Jessie, but she makes me want to look at her. Sara was sitting quietly at her desk near Miss Minchin, waiting to be told what to do. She was looked at the other girls, wondering what they were like, whether they liked Miss Minchin and their lessons, and whether their fathers were as wonderful as hers. She had a long talk with Emily about her father just that morning, a weaver of stories. Sara liked to pretend that Emily was alive and really heard and understood everything she said. You can read this book while I'm at school this morning, she had told Emily. I believe that dolls can read and talk and walk, but they will only do it when they're out of their room. That is their secret, Sara explained to Mariette when she saw her looking at her curiously. You see, if the people knew that dolls could do things, they would make them work. Emily will just sit there and stare, but if you want to go out, she will read or dance or look out the window. When she hears us coming, she will jump back in her chair and pretend she had been there the time. In the classroom, the mornings was off to a good start. Once they were all settled, Miss Minchin rapped on her desk. Young lady, she said, I wish to introduce you to your new classmate. All the girls rose in their places, and Sara rose too. I should expect you to give a warm welcome to Sara Crewe. She has come to us from a great distance, in fact from India. The girls bowed politely, and Sara made a little curtsy. And then they all sat down again. Sara, Miss Minchin said, come here to me. She had taken a book from her desk. Your father has engaged you for a French maid for you, she began. I assume he wants you to study French. Sara felt a little awkward and wasn't quite sure what to say. I think he engaged Mariette because he thought I would like her, Miss Minchin. I'm afraid, said Miss Minchin with a sour smile, that you are a spoiled little girl who always imagines that things are done for you because you like them. My impression is that your father wanted you to learn French. If Sara had been older or less anxious about being polite to people, she might have been able to explain this situation better. However, Miss Minchin was so sure that Sara had to learn French that the poor girl felt it would be rude to correct her. The truth was, Sara could not remember a time when she had not known French. Her father had always spoken it to her. Her mother was a French woman, and her father had loved the language, so Sara had always been familiar with it. I've never actually studied French, but she began trying to make herself clear. Secretly, Miss Minchin was embarrassed that she herself did not speak French. She did not want to leave herself open to questions from a new student. That is enough, she said tartly. If you haven't learned, you must begin at once. Our French teacher, Monsieur Dufage, will be here in a few minutes. Take this book and study until he arrives. Sara went back to her seat and opened the book. She tried not to smile. After all, she already knew that La Pierre meant the father and La Mère meant the mother. You look unhappy, Miss Minchin said with narrow eyes. I'm sorry you do not like the idea of learning French. I do like the idea, Sara answered, trying to explain the situation again, but you must not say but when you are told to do things, said Miss Minchin. Look at your book again. Sara did as she was told and did not smile even when she read words she had known forever. When Monsieur comes, Sara thought, I can make him better understand my situation. Monsieur Defarge arrived shortly after and noticed Sara was trying hard to appear interested in a book of phrases. Is this a new pupil for me, Miss Minchin? he asked. Yes, Miss Minchin began. Her father is anxious for Sara to learn French, but she has some sort of prejudice against it. She doesn't seem to wish to learn. I am sorry to hear that, mademoiselle, he said to Sara kindly. Sara sat up in her seat and looked at Monsieur Defarge intently with her big green-gray eyes. Speaking fluent French, Pierre said what Miss Minchin had refused to hear. No, she had not had formal French lessons in a classroom, but she had learned to speak the language because her father and other people she knew spoke it. Peering at Sara over her reading glasses while she was told to Monsieur Defarge, Miss Minchin was quite indignant. She could not hide the embarrassment that crept slowly on her face. On the other hand, Monsieur Defarge was simply delighted with his new pupil. He began to smile because it was such a pleasure to hear this lovely child speaking his language so flawlessly. It made him feel as if he were in France again, which on dark, foggy days in London seemed a world away. When Sara had finished, Monsieur Defarge took a phrase book from her and said to Miss Minchin, "Ah, madame, there's not much I can teach this pupil. She has not learned French. She is French. Her accent is exquisite." "You should have told me," exclaimed a mortified Miss Minchin, glaring at Sara. I tried," said Sara. I suppose I did not go about it just right." From that moment on, Miss Minchin had a grudge against her prize pupil, who she felt had humiliated her. While Sara talked to Monsieur Defarge, she couldn't help but notice one student, a chubby little blonde girl who sat chewing on her ribbon blade, kept staring at her in amazement. For weeks, Ermengarde had struggled with French. She was amazed to hear to someone her own age who could mix French nouns with verbs as if they were English. "Miss St. John," said Miss Minchin, exclaimed crossly when she noticed Ermengarde staring at Sara. "Take that ribbon out of your mouth." She sat up at once. "Do you hear me?" Lavina and Jessie giggled. Poor Ermengarde became red in the face and almost looked as if she were going to cry. Sara felt sorry for her. It was just second nature for Sara to help others who were sad or in trouble. When she heard the other girls laughing and saw the antagonized expression on Ermengarde's face, Sara's heart went out to her. "This isn't funny," she said under her breath. When class was over, Sara looked for the sad little girl in the hall. She found her all alone in a window seat. Sara introduced herself. As they talked and got acquainted, it was obvious to Sara that this was a lot of Ermengarde's problem, was that she had a brilliant mind but critical father who never gave her the love and support she needed. No wonder she felt so inferior, Sara thought. But as Sara talked about her search to find Emily, for her love for the father and the pain of their separation, Ermengarde began to like Sara enormously. "Lavina and Jessie are best friends," she said in a slow voice. "I wish we could be best friends. You are so clever, and I'm the stupidest girl in school. But I do like you." "Yes, we will be friends," said Sara, "and I'll tell you what," a sudden gleam lighting on her face, "I can help you with your French lessons." And that's the end of that chapter. See you later.